Well, welcome, Gary. Great to have you along at Penrith.
It's lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So you've been in the job as Bishop of the Western Region for 6 months, and it's gone exactly as you expected.
Oh, is everything I ever dreamed of or imagined? Yeah, it's been interesting,
It's been
hasn't
an interesting ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're married to Pearl with Thomas and Annabelle.
That's correct.
In your family, and I hear that Thomas and Annabelle are not the only online gamers in the family.
Yes, I do like computers. It's my generation, you know. We start off with the good old Commodore 64 and the like, and so I've got a PlayStation. You can find me, Rev Dr. GK23. That's my PSN.
Okay, right. We'll find you. Good. And so your night in, your ultimate night in, would probably be doing a bit of online gaming, a bucket of KFC, watching reruns of the Eels Grand Final 81, 82, 83. Is that right?
Well, 86 was the last time we won, actually, Tom. But
so how many years ago was that?
Yeah, it's a while back, but as long as Parramatta beats Manly, I'm reasonably happy.
Yes, yeah, we all are. And so you grew up Sydney, born bred Sydney, and you were son of Malaysian Chinese migrants.
Yep, Dad came in '65.
Yep.
On the Colombo plan.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you weren't a Christian as a kid. Can you talk us through how you became a Christian?
Yeah, sure. So I was an atheist as a kid. Really logical, kind of nerdy kid. I thought, I can't see God, doesn't exist therefore.
Yeah.
And I was heading down, very happy as an atheist. But the thing that really shocked me was my mother got cancer once halfway through university, and I was at she was in palliative care, and I watched her take her last breath. And logically speaking, I shouldn't have really cared that much about that because it's just natural, it's just chemical reactions. But I found the whole experience of watching my mother die deeply disturbing, and it really challenged my worldview. And it was at that point I was a bit more open to examining, other ways of looking at the world. I was at uni. I wasn't very studious.
You playing computer games?
No. Back in those days, you had to pay for them. So I played a lot of table tennis and snooker and 500. And one day I couldn't find my friends. But this is before mobile phones. So I had no choice but to pull a textbook out, which was dreadful. And but thankfully, some Christians from a group called Student Life came up to me and asked me if I wanted to talk about Jesus. I didn't, but it was better than study. And I discovered that being a Christian wasn't about following rules, but being a Christian was about having a relationship with Jesus. Now, coincidentally, I was selling televisions at Macquarie Centre with a person who they knew.
Okay.
And I told them about this encounter. He invited me to do Christianity Explained.
Okay.
And in preparation for Christianity Explained, he asked me to read Mark's Gospel. I just happened to have the Bible of a friend who no longer was reading it. A lot of just happened.
It sounds like it.
And I opened Mark's Gospel, expecting to read 2 chapters. I read all 16 that night because the Jesus I found in Mark's Gospel was real, was impressive, was nothing like what I expected. And I had this dreadful sense the whole time I was reading through the Gospel that I'd got it wrong about Jesus. And I've got a feeling I probably became a Christian just that night.
Yes.
Not fully understanding the Gospel, but understanding that I'd got it wrong.
And so somehow you were linked into a church of one of these friends, were you?
So that friend invited me to join Right Baptist Church.
Okay.
And I was baptised there. But out of a desire to evangelise my family, I started bringing my father to Chinese Christian Church, Milson's Point.
Okay.
And that's where I ended up.
Okay.
With Bishop Peter Lynn.
And what happened with, I understand your father became a Christian through that process.
If you've got time, I'll tell you the story. My father...
We've got time.
We've got time? Okay.
Yes.
My father, I'm in Christian ministry, my wife's in Christian ministry. We're at a family dinner one night, and my wife was involved with the start of an easy English Bible study for women. And we're at the family dinner, and my dad's partner was there. She's a Chinese lady. English was not 100%. And they lived in the eastern suburbs. This was happening in Carlingford. But my wife thought, look, can't hurt but to ask, and asked my dad's partner whether she was interested in going to this easy English Bible study. She said yes.
Yes.
But I'd love Ken to come too, which is my dad.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay. So my dad came with his partner and heard the gospel through an easy English women's Bible study. So each week he'd come in walking through these crowds of women as the only man.
Wow.
And he was there to help her with her English. And that's the first steps he took towards Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's incredible. What a great story. Now, you went through the path that your parents would be very proud of. You went to James Roos School and then went to med school, and then down the track decided to go into ministry. That's probably not the dream.
That's not the dream. The dream for migrant families is for the children to go to a good school, get a good degree, get a good job, buy a 5-bedroom house, get married, have 2 children, and a Tarago, Camry, and enough room for them to live with when they get older. That's the dream.
So was that difficult?
Yeah, it was
that
difficult.
decision?
It was difficult. I mean, when I first told my father that I was thinking about leaving medicine to do ministry, I mean, he was concerned about my ability to support family.
Mm-hmm.
My sister just thought I was an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think of all the money you're turning your back on. But it really didn't dawn on me how much of an impact it had on my family until a bit later on. I went to a buffet with my father and one of his workmates from Sydney Water. And my dad, being Chinese, very non-confrontational, but he got up to get prawns, as you do at a buffet. You've got to get value for money.
Yes.
And my dad's workmate, who was an Aussie, kind of leaned over at that point and said, "Gary, has your father ever told you how disappointed he is with you?"
Oh, okay.
And, geez, that was hard.
Yes.
That's hard. Because you don't set out to disappoint your father, do you?
No.
You want to make your father proud of you. But that was, I think the worst part of it, he never said it.
Mm.
You know,
and never did, I imagine.
No, never said it. No. So yeah, look, but you know, in the end, you got to balance. You got to balance your priorities. I mean, there's a cost that comes with being a disciple of Jesus, and that's one of the costs. Disappointing the family. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your role now as a bishop, with a medical background, you were thrown the COVID ball. I didn't call it a hospital pass. You were thrown the COVID ball.
That's right.
Tell me, what's your experience of that been?
It's been good and bad, actually. Obviously, it's been quite a bit of work with COVID, trying to support all our churches, not just in the West, but throughout the whole diocese. Almost every question that gets asked through our website comes through me ultimately. But isn't God good? I mean, in a way, you know, I mean, it was very difficult for Pearl and I to leave Carlingford. We felt we had unfinished business. But having a bishop with a medical degree during a pandemic, you know, in God's time, we were just the right people in the right place at the right time. So, and I guess the other thing that's allowed me to do is allowed me to start quickly, just in terms of being able to talk to lots of people and be helpful and encouraging as much as possible. So, you know, that's the story of all our lives when we sit back and think about it. God's in control. He knows better than us. I think that in the end, we just need to be humble.
And so churches are starting to go back now across your area. What are people's experience of church as they go back? What are you hearing back?
I'm hearing that people are very keen to go back. As churches do surveys, you know, a significant majority of people want to go back. But when the churches open up, not everyone turns up. So I think there's a sense that as much as we are keen to go back, there are 2 challenges. One challenge is anxiety over, you know, the possibility of gathering and getting infected. The second one, I think, is we're kind of fallen out of the habit. It's like me, I have a gym membership. My gym's reopened. I haven't gone back yet. I've fallen out of the habit. And I think going to church is such an important discipline. I use the word discipline rather than a habit for the Christian. And the convenience of sitting in I think our churches have done so brilliantly in providing an online alternative. They've worked so hard and have done so well in that, and almost too well, I think. So, you know, sitting in pajamas watching church is a very different experience than getting up, especially in the cold, and coming in. But I think the experience face-to-face is so different to virtual. And I think, I reckon that singing plays a big role in that as well. So I think once we start singing again, I think people will be far keener to come back.
Okay. I've heard you say that our mission is more accessible than ever before during this pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think. What I've been seeing is that been a lot of hits. A lot of hits on online church across the board. That many more people seem to be watching our services than would be coming regularly to church on a Sunday. And I had to think to myself, why is that the case? And I think is that actually coming through the front doors of a church is far more threatening than we remember or realise.
Absolutely.
What do I do? Who do I talk to? Will I be accepted? There are all sorts of anxieties about what church is like. And I think what online church does is open the doors for people to have a look and to hear the gospel, to see what Christians do. So I think that's been interesting. And I've seen that translate in some contexts also onto online evangelistic courses like You're Introducing God. I've seen that a lot of these people have come through online church have gone on to look at introducing God. The only issue that we're facing is that online church is not geographically based. So, I've heard of many other people having people come into online church and watching from South Africa, Scotland, England, right. Western Australia, places like that.
Sure.
So, within Sydney anyway, we're part of, one of the great advantages of being in a denomination, being in the Sydney Anglican network, is we're part of a network with good relationship with friends in every part of Sydney and Illawarra. And we can always direct people to a good church if necessary.
Well, thanks very much for coming. We look forward to hearing what you have to say to us a bit later on.
Thanks, Noel.
Good on you, Gary.